Have to say, oh, I know.
You're listening to the Mario Mukonda Show on Salam Media. It is 17 minutes past 11 on this Tuesday, the 23rd of February 2021. It's not easy being young, single, and Muslim in today's world. Millennials have it very different than the previous few generations. For the youth today, the sky is the limit. But there is one small problem. They face the ever increasing temptation of romantic relationships, which sometimes lead to instant sexual gratification, as is the norm on college campuses. But the MSA, or the Muslim Students Association, recently hosted the Created in Pairs Marriage Workshop. And to tell us more about this is the MSA Deputy President, Akila Hendricks. Assalamu alaikum, Akila.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Mariam?
Alhamdulillah, all well, and yourself?
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, there's a bit of a delay, so I'm going to bear with you, and also please bear with me. Okay, so what was the purpose of the workshop Created in Pairs?
So, firstly, shukran so much for having us. We really appreciate it. So, our theme for this year is for the Farq Kifaya. And this is the notion in our community, usually associated with kifayas, actually, which is janazas, which is, you know, if someone in the community does it, everyone will get reward for it. If someone doesn't do it, then everyone will be punished. And when we went into our term, we really wanted to give practical workshops where, or, you know, give students the knowledge that will not just you know, influence on campus, but it's going to influence broader society. And we saw kind of there's a lack, I wouldn't say there's a lack of marriage workshops, because I think there is. There is obviously price associated with a lot of them, and we understand reason behind them, and people need to be paid, they need to be stable. But with things being virtual, we're like, okay, let's see if we can host one. And we contacted Sheikh West, which is a sheikh in Puka, but he's also an international speaker, and he's with Al Kauthar, and you can see his bio as well. He's phenomenal, and everyone is loving him so much. So we contacted him and was like, you know, we really want to do it, but we also want to tackle topics that we feel like a lot of maps are starting to tackle, but not quite yet. And that would be like things like divorce, stigma around it, pornography. How do you, the reality is, how do you or date online Islamically and from Islamic perspective, and just like talking about these topics that make people feel uncomfortable. Response was beyond our wildest imaginations. Like we knew people would be interested, but this interested is not something that we expected. Alhamdulillah.
No, Alhamdulillah, especially when you have a platform like this and you can do things online, this would reach far and wide. And I'm really glad that the MSA decided to have such a workshop, because, like you said, there aren't many such workshops, especially for the youth. When you try to talk about the youth and getting married, you know, it's eye rolling, and then it's parents talking about, oh, my child is still so young, and etc. etc. You know, but then they normalize other things, which is it is why normalize the other things when you can normalize, or you should be normalizing, getting married, because it is encouraged to get married at a young age. Now, why do young people get so overwhelmed by the thought of marrying young? You know, when you think about marrying young and somebody's like, okay, I'm only 21 and I have the rest of my life ahead of me, so why should I get married?
I think that first of all, I agree with you that there's like this notion of do rather haram. And a friend of mine was like, she got married quite young. She was telling me like it might not work. You're right. It might not. But I would rather get divorced, Allah forbid, than do things in haram for, you know, and normalize those type of things. That getting married young, well, I'm not married, I'm engaged, but I think
Mashallah.
it's about also like you're able to grow with your partner. I've seen people that are quite older and they're so in their ways, it's very difficult to compromise. And I think people have this idea that they're very pessimistic about marriage, and they're always like, oh, but do this before marriage, do that. And then I also are in their later 20s and they really want to get married, and they are quite successful in their career, but they're lacking this companionship, and that's not something that they job can give.
Okay, Akila, we're going to cut the interview and take you over the phone instead. The line is not very clear, so let's try this interview over the phone instead. You are listening to the Mari Mukwanda show on Salam Media, and on the line, well, that was Akila Hendricks, the MSA Deputy President, talking about the Created in Pairs Marriage Workshop, which they recently hosted. If you have any comments or questions about this topic, you can send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 0617660355. Akila, sorry, I had to cut you off there, but the line was not very clear. Yeah, okay, please continue.
Mariam, can you hear me now?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Sorry, so where did I get cut off there? I'm so sorry about that.
Well, we were talking about the feeling of being so overwhelmed and not wanting to get married, thinking that we're still young and have our entire lives ahead of us, and normalizing romantic relationships, boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, etc.
So I think the question you asked is like, why should we get married young? So I'm not married, like I said, I'm engaged.
Yeah.
But I think that the reason why I would advocate for getting married young is obviously like there's sunnah to get married. You kind of have this companion with you. You get to grow together. When you become a bit older, this is my observation and speaking to people, when you're kind of set in your own ways, it seems like people are like not as willing to compromise because you're like, but I've achieved X, Y, and Z, and there's obviously nothing wrong with it, but you have your own habits. Well, I think when you're a bit younger, you're a bit more flexible in terms of, oh, well, you grow with the person. And that's also what I found in my personal experience is that you learn to be like, but I need to be more understanding and things like that. So, yeah, I think that also the issue comes in with, our parents, like you were mentioning, that it's not advocated for as much to get married young, which is always so odd because they got married young. And, they built the empires together. But I suppose there's wisdom as well as to why they would, rather recommend to get married a bit later because they have their challenges. So I don't think there's always going to be a catch-22 with everything, and it's just like what compromises are you willing to make? If you're going to make compromises, you're not going to have your bread buttered both sides either way. But there's a lot of young people that want to get married. We've seen in the course, like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of a milka, but when you're not financially stable to be able to get married, and a lot of questions that come through was like the youth saying like they want to get married, but they're still studying, they don't have the financial means. What do we do? We want to do things the right way, but they don't necessarily have the support to do things the right way. So that's also a topic, inshallah, that we're hoping to discuss tonight, that we're very excited about. And I think a lot of youth actually do want to get married and do things the right way.
Alhamdulillah, that's good to hear and it's good to know as well. And one issue that always arises when the youth want to get married, it's always this issue of, but you need to go to school first, you need to finish your education, or where you're going to live, your husband needs to look after you, etc., etc. But there are ways to go about this. I mean, there's no need for one to leave school just for the sake of getting married. School can continue. I mean, your life doesn't have to stop because you decide to get married. Which brings me to the next question. What can adult Muslim mentors, teachers, parents, activists do to make it easier for our youngsters to get married and also to lead a happy married life?
That's a very good question and so fitting. I think that the first thing I would like to kind of address parents is like to have the conversation with your children and find out where they're at and give them responsibilities, like there's a reason why, sometimes there's barakah in delay as well. If Allah wants, Allah will make a way for people to get married. Yeah. Some people cut out for it and some people aren't, but I definitely agree that you can do both. It will be difficult. but I think it is possible. I've seen a lot of people do it, mashallah. So I think the first thing is that parents need to encourage that halal, like advocate for that and not advocate for fine mistakes, like supervise them, make sure that even if it's like with a friend or be interested in what they do, and see if you can help. I mean, some parents, if you have a room and you're like, okay, you know what, like, I'll give them a room, we have an extra space, provide for them shelter if you can. If you're able to, add one more person to the budget of your family home, so that just means a meal and here and there. But also doesn't mean you want to be given things on a silver platter. Give them sense of responsibility. If that means like saying, hey, I have a side hustle for you, or if you want to work here weekends, or brainstorm ideas with them. But I think we should be advocating and saying, if you want to do things the Islamic way, Bismillah, facilitate it for them, because there's reward in it and there's barakah in it. And living with your in-laws, I'm sure like there's been, a lot of people are not for it, but they also sacrifice you what you're gonna have to make. So it's not that you want to get married and you can't just get your own flat and everything's going to be for and so better. You as a young person have to know that, okay, well, if I want to get married and I really want to do it, I'm going to have to, live perhaps with my in-laws or my parents, and sacrifices can be made on both sides. But if you can help them in any way, that means, telling them these resources to do a side job, or even help them in your office, do admin work, give that to them, talk about it with them. Tell them, okay, you think about getting married. Also, attend this marriage workshop. If you're serious, you should be, taking the steps to prepare for marriage as well. And this includes attending workshops. I mean, you're not going to go write an exam without studying, or you're not going to become a doctor without getting a degree. So you should be knowing what are the ins and outs and the rights of each person. So yeah, just think like an open conversation is very important to help where you can. But I can go on about this all day. I'm very passionate about this whole topic in general, this marriage and everything. I think it's also like a prevention service. This marriage workshop is a prevention service. There's a lot of youth that attend that are single. A lot of them, most of them are single. They aren't seeing someone, so it just prepares them, beforehand. But it's definitely for someone that's divorced, married. It's complicated. The workshop is for everyone as well.
Alhamdulillah. Well, we also need to normalize having conversations about marriage at a young age, because I mean, like you mentioned earlier, that our parents got married at a young age, so why should they not allow us to get married at a young age? When you see images and we have access to the media wherever we go in the form of our mobile phones. So sexual images are everywhere. So how do you teach your children to lower their gaze then, when you need to start having conversations with them at a young age so that they grow up into being responsible young adults wanting to get married at a young age. Now, quickly, Akila, when will we be seeing more such workshops? I mean, this is a very good one, and I think there should be a lot more in the future.
So the workshop is actually still running. We've only had 2 sessions so far. So we had our launch on the 14th, and then the following, the 16th, last Tuesday, we had like our first official session. So our third session is this evening. And the workshop is split into 3 modules. So we are busy with the pre-nikah one, and we're hoping to finish by Ramadan. And then we will be doing the nikah, so discussing the nikah process, the ins and outs, the contract, intimacy, the first night, things like that. Then we'll be discussing post-nikah. So the course, inshallah, we don't know when it will end. Everyone is really excited. I will go so quickly. So it's from 8 to 9, and you can register at www.10yl or 10y something. You can just check our Instagram page and you'll find the link. You can register, and you can also watch on Facebook. You don't need Facebook. Just a disclaimer, you do not need Facebook in order to watch the video. Once you register, I will send you the link and all the details of everything, and you can just see how many people are interested in it, and then the platforms send anonymous questions. So we're having it on a weekly basis until further notice. So yeah, We are very, very excited because it's something we've added a lot of new topics.
Yes.
So things that Sheikh usually didn't discuss because his workshop is usually just one day. But this will be a continuous one, and then we hope to see how long it will take. And then next year, inshallah, we hope that the next committee will be able to take it forward, and hopefully this can take place on an annual basis. So yeah, we're very, very excited. And yeah, Jazakallah khair for having us. And I hope that all of the listeners and yourself will attend and give us feedback. Send us through any comments that you have. We would love to hear what you have to say.
I mean, Akila, shukran for your time and for sharing that information with us. And I wish you well in your future endeavors.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That was Akila Hendricks, the MSA Deputy President, taking us through the Created in Pairs marriage workshop that they currently have running, which was started on the 14th of February. Very, very necessary a workshop, especially for the youth. I mean, this is aimed at the youth, and parents need to start encouraging their kids to attend such workshops, as well as to talk about and make these conversations free to talk about, because that's what they are. You don't have to pay for such conversations. Talk about them. Marriage is okay. Marriage at a young age is okay. I have a younger sister who got married at the age of 21, and there are so many others getting married at 21 and younger. And the most common question that people will ask you is, why are you getting married at such a young age? And I mean, you're still so young. Why don't you just go and live your life? But you can live your life. That's the thing. You can live your life while still married. If you find the person that you think that they are good enough, according to what a spouse is supposed to be, then get married. There's absolutely no reason to be shacking up and just having a good life, talking about your girlfriend and your boyfriend. They can still be your girlfriend or your boyfriend once they are your husband or your wife. Anyways, leave your comments in the comments section or send them to us on WhatsApp, the number 0617660355. We will be right back after the break.
This is Salam Media, and you are tuned into the Miriam Makwan